Good evening, welcome to the Buck Stops here. I'm Vishnu Showman. Boy, do we have a packed show for you. Amitabh Bachchan joins us on this, the first anniversary of the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, as we debate whether this scheme, launched with a great deal of fanfare by the Prime Minister, is meeting its goals. Also on the show, an exclusive interview with the Environment Minister Prakash Javadekar on a day India announced extremely bold steps to cut its carbon emissions ahead of a key UN meeting on climate change. And we top it off with another big exclusive. Joining us on the show, Luju Ojha, the young Nepali-American thrash metal guitarist who made one of the most profound discoveries of our times, water on the surface of Mars. We've got it all this evening. But first, our top story. India today put the ball back in the court of the international community, which had said that New Delhi was not showing its intent in cutting down its carbon emissions to save us all from the harmful effects of global warming. Well, India has now replied, and the carbon emission cuts announced today are profound. But are they too much to be realistically achievable?
लेकिन झारखंड जहां कोयले के भंडार भरे पड़े हैं, वो झारखंड जब सौर ऊर्जा के लिए जाता है तब दुनिया के लिए एक नई मिसाल पैदा करता है, एक नया संदेश देता है। पूरे विश्व को कहना चाहता हूं, ये जो मुसीबत आई है उस पाप के हम भागीदार नहीं है। गलती किसी की भी क्यों न रही हो, लेकिन मानवता की रक्षा के लिए भारत को भी अपना योगदान देना होगा और हमने देने का निर्णय किया।
The Prime Minister timing the opening of a solar power court with the government's much-awaited targets it sets for India to cut carbon emissions. India's target is ambitious and matches well with America and China's, the world's top two polluters. The government has promised a 33 to 35% cut of emissions intensity of GDP by 2030.
Monsieur Sushma Swaraj.
If you look at the promises India made today, it shows that we will still be polluting much less per capita than them. Even if India's emission triple from the current 1.7 tons of carbon dioxide per capita, it will be far less than 12 tons per capita of the United States and China. India's renewable targets are ambitious, from the current 74 gigawatts to 300 gigawatts, most of it in the next 7 years. So by 2030, India's clean power will be 300 gigawatts compared to 300 gigawatts that China's promised and 275 gigawatts by the United States.
न्याय चाहिए। भारत जो न्याय मांग रहा है, ये न्याय गरीब के लिए है, गरीब देशों के लिए भी और गरीब लोगों के लिए भी।
And for that, for now, India relies heavily on coal, which contributes 50% to India's emissions. The government says it will implement ultra-supercritical technology and other plans to reduce emissions.
There is nothing called as clean coal. After all, it has carbon dioxide emissions, it will have local pollution issue. So the so-called clean coal is, making coal-based thermal power plant a little more efficient.
But for most people, climate change is about clear and present danger, not lofty long-term promises. Since a lot of urban pollution is from vehicles, the government today said it will enforce cleaner Euro Stage 6 engines and fuel, 9 years ahead of schedule.
अब जब हम 2 महीने के भीतर पेरिस में मिलने वाले हैं,
India is among the last major economies to announce these measures, ahead of December's climate conference in Paris to decide the next climate treaty. But apart from change at the global level, the government is also banking on change at the individual level. The government has set an ambitious task of replacing all ordinary bulbs with LED bulbs over the next 2 to 3 years. It's expected to actually save more than $2 billion US, but more importantly, also conserve roughly 10,000 megawatts of power. That's more than 1.6 times the entire power consumption of the capital. The good news for the consumer is that while the prices of LED bulbs have already come down by half, with this measure, the government is hoping that the prices of LED bulbs is expected to come down even further. In New Delhi with Shalek Ram, Siddharth Pandey for NDTV.
Joining us for this exclusive interview, the Environment Minister, Mr. Prakash Javadekar. Firstly, Mr. Javadekar, congratulations. It's a big announcement, and everybody will now be watching on whether we can actually deliver 33 to 35%, very welcome. But the money for this has to come from somewhere. It's an astronomical $2.5 trillion that India requires. Where will this money come from?
I'll tell you, it's very, let us understand that we will be on the fast growth trajectory, which means our GDP will rise many-fold and our personal incomes are expected to go threefold over next 15 years. So that means we will have tremendous resources on hand. So essentially they will be domestic. But international community, what we expect essentially is the technology, critical technology at an affordable rate, and finance commitment which they have done as part of their historical responsibility. So that is, but our action path is based on essentially on our domestic resources.
So not foreign resources. How much of these resources will come from abroad?
No, that how can we say, because $100 billion were to be built up till 2020, but today it is just $10 billion pledges and actually no money. So it's a very pathetic affair as far as the Green Climate Fund, creation of Green Climate Fund is concerned. So what we are doing is we have asked the developed world to walk the talk and they should come out with credible plan. I think in Lima, where Arun Jaitley ji is going, they will have presenting some financial structure of how they are going to mobilize $100 billion. But whatever happens, it belongs mostly to least developed countries, small island developed countries, and emerging economies like India, where we need money. But we, as I said, we are also a growing economy, so we'll take care by ourselves. What we need actually is a technology.
Okay. Mr. Javadekar, now it's sad to say this, but the reality in India is that poverty is polluting. How will the government be able to persuade, for example, the poorest in villages to give up their chulhas and stop, for example, farmers burning lakhs of acres in the north of India every October and November?
Very good question. Very good question. So, today 40% of our population uses firewood. The ambitious LPG program as designed by Petroleum Ministry, and I had talked with Dharmendra Pradhan last week only, and he assured me that it will be from 40% it will go down drastically. They are going to provide LPGs in 2 kg bottle, in 5 kg bottle, in 14 kg bottle to all the villages and remote places also, and it will come from 40% of firewood burning to 4% of firewood burning by 2030. That's an ambitious plan.
Okay, by 2013 it will be down to approximately 4% in all of the homes across the country where firewood is being burnt as a fuel. Is that what you're saying, sir? That's a very, very big and optimistic target. And again, an important announcement by the Environment Minister. My next question, sir. Now, people in our cities are leaving if they have that option because of pollution. Foreigners coming here are going back. The rest of us don't have that option. Some schools are not allowing children to play when pollution is high. How soon, sir, will this situation improve in our cities, which you know are the most polluted in the world?
See, two things. One is vehicular pollution, which is a real problem. We have to build. For decades together, people discussed of outer ring road, but nobody built it. We have already started building it, so in 2 years, the outer ring road, so non-destined vehicles won't come here. That is first. Second, as far as migrating to Euro 6, both the ministries are ready. They want to prepone the program, but industry somehow is not ready, which you also should make pressure on industry so that they will be ready for BS6 compliant vehicles.
Sir, you are government, sir. The auto industry is not wanting to change to Euro 6 for a couple of reasons. Number one, they say the prices of cars will go up dramatically. Now, that's debatable whether that is the case, but they say the prices of cars will go up dramatically.
No, not dramatically.
Right, but this is their argument. So what is government going to do to make a law in a finite period of time, move to Euro 6 or stop selling cars? When will the government, because let's face it, sir, the auto sector is a driver of the economy. We know that. And so what they say has some weight, but you have to push them, sir. When will you do that?
That is the domain of Transport Ministry, and therefore wait for, because they are already engaged with the industry, because they want to prepone. Petroleum Ministry is ready, but industry has to be ready. I think with dialogue this can happen sooner than what we have planned earlier.
Okay, sir, diesel fuel, sir, in automobiles, there is a massive scandal which is happening in so many parts of the world with Volkswagen. Now there are concerns that other companies might be involved. Is it time now, sir, for you as minister to tell millions of Indians over there that no matter how much technology improves, diesel is not the future? Maybe electricity is, maybe cleaner petrol is, but diesel is not the future. Would you agree?
See, Modi government has already deregularized. We were providing much subsidy for pollution. Now we have done away with that, and we are now actually it's a market-based driven prices. So the one reform has already been brought.
I am asking you, sir, in terms of the environment and pollution, sir.
We will be a hybrid. We are promoting hybrid and electrical vehicles. Already giving 30% subsidy. It's a huge subsidy.
Okay, but nobody seems to be wanting to change that fast. Can the government do more to persuade people to move away from diesel cars to either petrol, hybrid, CNG, or ultimately in the future electric?
We will with partnership of media.
By when, sir?
You have to take our message to all the people.
We are taking your message, sir. You announce a date, sir. Next question, sir. Coal power, very controversial, very dirty. We need GDP growth, sir. But now you have announced today that you're pushing electricity in a very, very big way. But India still plans to add hundreds of gigawatts of power through thermal power. So there's a contradiction, sir. How do you plan to deal with it?
No, there is no contradiction. Our non-fossil fuel share goes up. That's a very positive sign. And we will use clean coal technology. More norms of thermal power emissions have been made more stringent, and I am eternal hopeful that the new technology is on anvil of carbon capture and use, where you will have a complex where there will be carbon capture from the thermal power station and used in all other plants nearby which use carbon as an input. Thank you so much. I have to go because I have commitment to...
Sir, last question. 3 babies, sir, have moved the Supreme Court to ban firecrackers. Sir, is it a gimmick or do you agree with them, sir, that pollution levels are really bad, sir? All right, the minister has walked off over there. It would have been nice to have heard him make a statement where he says that firecrackers need not be used on Diwali because they linger at high levels of pollution in the air. But the minister is gone. But what he said, couple of important points over there. Firstly, within a finite period of time, there is going to be a massive cut in the use of wood as a fuel. LPG cylinders in small sizes will be distributed. Secondly, the move to Euro 6 will be done, and the government is trying to persuade the auto industry to adopt this as well. These two announcements which the minister makes today comes at a stage when the government has announced very ambitious goals of reducing India's carbon emissions by up to 35% by 2030 to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change.